Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Curtain. Today, I'm speaking to Lexie Ward and Meg Robinson, both Queer Theatre directors, about their brilliant podcast, Script in Hand, which launches its third season on Wednesday from wherever you get your podcasts. Can you please introduce both yourselves?
We're going to have that awkward pause where we work out which one's going to go first. I'll go first. My name's alphabetical. We'll go that way. I'm Lexie, pronoun she, her, and I am a theatre director based in Cumbria.
And I am Meg, pronoun she, her, and yeah, ditto.
And obviously we're here today to talk about the podcast Script in Hand, which is about to launch its third series on Wednesday. So can you tell me a bit more about where the idea for the podcast came from?
So I suppose this has been brewing for a couple of years now. When I think I was going through a phase when I was getting really obsessed with listening to podcasts. And also Meg and I met properly when we were doing an MA course in directing together. And part of that course involved us doing basically shed tons of play reading and analysing every week. And I discovered I really love this. I love dissecting plays. It's like having an argument in the pub with people who aren't here. It was fantastic. And then I was thinking, there isn't anything like this. And I just want to keep chatting and reading more plays. And then it took me about a year and a half to actually come up to start doing the podcast. Because I remember pitching it to Meg and go, should we do this? But we didn't have a name. And I really wanted a good name before we did anything with it. So it genuinely took me about 8 months of going off and on. What can we call it? What's a cool, witty, punny-ish, but interesting name, which is actually good and I'm not going to get sick of? And then when I thought of Script in Hand, like, that's it. We've got the name. We're doing this. And we were talking about doing it in spring 2020 anyway, because that's when we both had some free time in our diary and we were working on shows. And then pandemic hit and we had a lot more free time in our diaries and it suddenly seemed to just go from there.
So we've been able to kind of bash through it quite quickly, haven't we? Probably got through it quicker than we would have. And for me, it was just really nice because after we finished the course, because we had to read, was it like 3 plays a week or something like that?
4 plays a week.
I was like, I love this. I need to keep doing this. Like, I will do this. But obviously didn't. So it was quite nice to have this podcast and just push myself to continue to read plays, because I think it's really important as your practice as a director and as a practitioner to keep up to date with plays and just keep reading them. And this is just an excellent chance to make sure I do that.
Yeah. And how do you decide which plays you're going to talk about in your episodes?
After you, Meg.
So they from like a range of different things. So sometimes they're recommended. Sometimes it's ones that we've wanted to read for ages. Sometimes they just happen to be ones that we've already got on our bookshelf. So it's kind of a mixture of everything, really. But yeah, so any recommendations are always, we do try to follow those through as well.
We try really hard to make sure our seasons are really balanced as well. So when we're crafting what's going to go in these 12 plays, we like to think we've got a good mix of gender balance. So it's not heavily weighted to male playwrights or female playwrights. So it's always balanced. We like to speak to have diverse playwrights as well, from different backgrounds, from different countries, try and show that difference in race as well. So trying to make sure all of that is balanced and we're not weighting to one side or the other is really important for us as in our learning, but also hopefully for listeners getting to read things they might not ever have come across.
That was quite a response as well, wasn't it, to the plays already had on our bookshelves. I think especially, I don't know from your Lexie, but when I looked at my bookshelf when we first started, because all the plays I had were an accumulation of plays from studying, school or college or uni, they were pretty much all by white men, because that's just how the curriculum is. Really worked hard to bring in new voices, to bring in new playwrights of all different backgrounds, which has been really fun. Yeah,
and as we both directed yourselves, who would be your kind of target audience you're aiming for listeners?
Ooh, good question.
Good one.
I don't know, for me it's definitely anybody who's interested in theatre, full stop. I love that. I think some of the best feedback we've got, or the ones which make me go, "Aw," very much, are the ones where we've reached out to teachers or younger audiences who have gone, "Oh, this one sounds really cool. I now want to bring this into my classroom, or I want to look at this text further." And that's really exciting because, like Meg says, you get the curriculum kind of needs updating in terms of what's on there, and being able to target those people is fantastic. But anyone who basically enjoys theatre and wants to just hear us witter on about plays and a love fest is always great.
that's one thing I would say from a listener perspective, that I guess before I did this blog, I didn't really see many plays. And obviously listening to you guys has kind of helped me develop more of a knowledge, which is great.
Oh,
Amazing.
yay.
Thank you. And yeah, so what can you tell me about this new series that's coming on Wednesday?
It's very exciting. One thing I can tell you is that most of them seem to be pink or red covers, which we didn't intend. But we kind of put them all together in a picture the other day, and we were like, oh, we've gone for a colour scheme here on accident. We're rolling with it. But yeah, so we're opening with Little Women, which is an adaptation of Little Women by Figs in Wigs. And then, yeah, loads of other ones. I mean, I don't want to reel them all off, but there's ones about relationships, there's ones about identity, there's ones about historical figures as well. So that's a really good one as well. Red Velvet, which is by Lolita Chakrabarti. It's about Ira Eldridge, who was an actor back in the 1800s. So that's really cool. I love historical ones. I do, anyway.
Yeah, as always, we've got the classic Shakespearean-esque one for Meg, and we've got the token comedy one for me. Always built in.
Yeah, kind of what's been your favourite ones you have talked about in the previous series?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, it gets harder every time we do a new series as well, because no, this is my new favourite. For me, this one of the things the podcast has done is really opened up my thoughts on what play form can be, especially in a published script.
Yeah.
So I can't sing enough praises of Seven Methods of Killing Kylie Jenner by Jasmine Lee Jones, because that's the first play I've ever seen with tweets and gifs and memes built into it, and then there's the different font to the traditional one, and it blew my little tiny mind that someone was thinking about the reader experience of a play as well as the visual. Little Women, we've just covered, is very similar to that in terms of it's got the writing is written in different forms, like it's written in snake passion or in a margarita glass. So it's a two-hit piece, I think, for these playwrights. When they put it on stage, you're getting one version, but when you then read it, it's like an extra added bonus material show sort of thing for the reader, which I really thoroughly adore. I'm trying to think of my other favourite ones. I mean, from the upcoming series, Scenes with Girls by Miriam Batty, which we've just done our episode on.
Love that play.
That again, that's what I messaged Meg after I read it. I went, first time I got about 3 pages in and went, I'm struggling. I don't understand this. And then by the end, I was like, oh my God, I've stopped thinking about this play. So I'm really excited for that episode to come out.
I'd say one of my favourites has definitely been by Morgan Lloyd Malcolm. And I think that's partly because it was really hyped up before I read it, and I kind of knew the premise of the play, and I was gutted I never got to see it in London. So that was a really exciting one for me, because it was about Shakespearean kind of characters, and it was about women. So that was just like my absolute niche, that my Venn diagram of plays. The Hose as well has been one of my absolute yeah.
I mean, obviously you ended the last series on quite an infamous episode, I'd say, the drunk episode. Which...
Oh, you can't say infamous.
well. But kind of, how did the idea for that one come around, and will there be more? Because
it died as a joke. How did it start, Lexie? Did we just message each other like, oh, it'd be funny if we did a drunk one, haha?
I swear I think you mentioned it halfway through season 2. We went, oh, we should do a drunk one in the recording, and then from that it went, oh, now we have to do one.
Yeah.
And we roped in 2 previous guests. We roped in Ali and Oscar. And I genuinely cannot remember the last 30. I do the editing on the podcast afterwards, and we recorded about 2.5 hours. And I was listening, going through it, and I got to the last half hour, and I can't remember a single bit about half hour. So, infamous is definitely a word. It was a lot of fun, though.
It was great. I'll definitely be doing that again. It was just it was just fun for me in terms of even outside of recording, putting it out as an episode, to actually get together. We were on Zoom with a group of friends and just talk about theatre, be drunk. Like, I just haven't done that in so long. So it was so much fun. And yeah, there's a lot that you don't hear in the episode. Lexie did an incredibly good job of one.
I mean, I tried to keep it vaguely on point, but the tangents, there was a lot of tangents, but I still stand by Oscar's casting as RuPaul as Lady Bracknell. I still think that is genius.
And obviously yourselves as directors, how have you kind of navigated the last year? I know you've mentioned kind of it's allowed you more time to do the podcast, but have you found it kind of in terms of your jobs like that?
So I've been quite lucky because I've got a job in a theatre in marketing, so I've really lucky to have that stable income. But in terms of doing directing and with my company Shakespeare Switch, we have taken a lot of things online. So we did a really cool project which was monologues, and the actors play against their casting type, and it actually opened it up so much more because it was online. We had actors from North America, we had actors from Europe, and we had actors from China, which we would just never ever have had the opportunity to work with. So that was amazing. So yeah, it's obviously been difficult because we haven't done any in life shows, but the opportunities it's brought to connect with people across the world has been pretty much invaluable, to be honest.
That is the one kind of, I say good thing, but the thing it's highlighted is that we don't need to kind of be in the same rooms to still talk. Yeah. We haven't got to travel across the world to have meetings anymore. We can have that connectivity online. It's not the same, but there is still a way for us to make theatre in a different format. My company is a murder mystery company, and we've taken to online, doing online theatre. I was very lucky to get to work with some young companies in between lockdowns, in person doing work. And I'm just about to do an illustrated audio play with Theatre by the Lake. So that's what my next kind of project is, which is all, again, happening online. And just makes you think, you have to think a bit more out the box, but it's definitely been a real blessing being able to have the opportunity to do so.
I think with the podcast as well, I mean, we'll never know this, but I feel like we've been able to get such amazing guests that would have been really busy otherwise and would not have had the time to do this. And that's really cool. Yeah.
Chris frickin' Bush. I mean,
what?
When she said yes, we were like, what? So that was amazing.
Happened because she's probably extremely busy when the theatres are open. So yeah, that was really cool.
And for season 3 guests, we've got some amazing ones we'll keep in the back pocket, but ones we can definitely announce at the minute. We've got the incredible Tabby Lamb joining us to talk about her play Since You've Been Gone. So exciting. And artistic director of Theatre by the Lake, Liz Stevenson, is coming to talk about Pyongyang, which is one of her favourite plays. So we're rolling in special guests again.
Amazing. Can't wait. How's it changed as you guys as directors kind of working, like you say, over Zoom? How would you kind of cope with that? Because obviously life's just constantly Zoom now, isn't it?
Yeah, good question.
One of the things I've found is because our company do a lot of parody songs and music, which you just can't do over Zoom because it's all out of sync. So when we did our songs a few months ago, I was like, right, we'll just record it on sound. Well, about 10 seconds in, we realised we can't do that. So it meant I had to edit it and spend a lot of time syncing everyone's audio and video. So it's been hard, but then you think, well, they're skills I've gained now that I wouldn't have done before because I've had no reason to. So I think that's quite cool. Like as much as it's frustrating and it's like, oh, if we were just in a room, we could do it. But yeah, quite cool.
And for me, it's been, I've done a few radio plays directing, and that's something I was always interested in beforehand, but hadn't had the opportunity. And this has really allowed me the chance to explore what that medium is like when you're just focusing on working with an actor and their voice and the sound that you're hearing. So that's been really exciting and different and cool to explore over the last year with that.
And I guess obviously tying in with the podcast, does that kind of help you guys going forwards, kind of as directors, kind of as theatre lovers yourselves, kind of talking about dissecting plays? Is that?
Oh, massively. Yeah, I feel my keeping my analytical brain going over the last year has been such a godsend on doing this work, because I'm reading a lot more varied plays like Meg said than I might have otherwise have done. So my taste is broadening. I'm hopefully feeling like I'm getting better at recognizing what interests me in work and what's exciting and what's new, as well as reflecting on what worked in older plays. Just having that analytical side of my brain constantly switched on for the last year will be something which I will definitely take forward, going back when I get actually into a room with people and scripts again.
I agree. I'm just really grateful to Lexie that we are able to have these conversations, and I think it's made me a lot stronger in terms of how I would pitch a show theatre or how I would pitch it for an application, because I know how to talk about plays and analyse them now, which obviously you think, oh, well, I can do that anyway. But when you actually do it and the conversation just flows naturally, I think we bounce off each other quite well. It just, like, your ideas, Lexie, just really inspire me my own, and it's just really nice. Yeah.
Stop it.
And obviously, what have you kind of been your favourite shows you've directed in your kind of career to date?
Oh, 39 Steps. I say this all the time. I need a new answer, but I directed a production of the 39 Steps a couple of years back, and it was just the most fun I've had on a show. If you listen to the podcast, you know I'm a comedy buff, and that is one of my all-time faves. And it's got everything. It's got multiple locations, an incredible sound and lighting kind of thing you can do with it. You need actors who can multi-role like 50 different parts. And it goes at a rate of knots. So yeah, still 39 Steps for me.
Mine was Flesh, which was by Rob Drummond, part of the National Theatre's Connections programme. So I did that with a group of kids from Dumfries, and it's kind of a Lord of the Flies-esque kind of story. So that was really fun, and I got to do that at the Traverse in Edinburgh, which was amazing. Proper career highlight, that.
Amazing. This is obviously a tough question I'm going to throw at you both, but what would be like your dream shows to direct?
Oh. I go first because I feel like you need to think, Meg.
Yeah.
Okay. It goes without saying any comedy, frankly, and I love. There's so many, but someone I really want the chance to do a Noises Off. I know it's just been on in the West End, so give me a couple of years, or give me a regional theatre, and I will smash a Noises Off because the timing required in that play is so spectacularly particular and exciting, and the chance to explore that and hit all those levels of comedy would make my little director heart sing. So yes, definitely Noises Off, and I want to do One Man Two Governors again. And when I've got a couple more years in my belt, because I think it's definitely a play, a couple more years of life experience would help. I want to do Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which is actually my all-time favorite play. And it's not a comedy, but that is my favorite play.
I love the passion you have for comedy. Yes. Just lights up. Mine would be, it's obviously, it's iconic and this isn't going to happen anytime soon, but Amelia. It just encompasses thing I love about theatre. I just think I would be really good at directing that. Also, I love Shakespearean adaptations specifically, so kind of looking into more of those, creating my own or doing ones already. Really exciting.
Your Romeo and Juliet you pitched on the podcast sounds sick, and I need you to see you do that.
Fun.
And as kind of an audience member, what's been your kind of favourite productions you've watched in a theatre?
Ooh, you get to go first on that one, Meg. I need to think.
So the one that, this might be a bit of a cop-out answer, but we'll go with it. The one that made the most impact on me was Billy Elliot in the West End. So I saw that when I was quite young. I don't know how old, but there was one moment where he did a backflip off the piano, and I was like, I want to be in theatre. And that kind of solidified it for me, and that's like why I'm doing it now, because the impact that Billy Elliot had. And I would love to bring that full circle and then direct Billy Elliot myself. I think it's so special.
Okay, for me, I remember the noise that came out of my mouth at the end of the latest Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf with Imelda Staunton and Conleth Hill in the West End, because my partner bought me tickets for Christmas for closing night. And I just remember the guttural sound that came out of my mouth at the end. Like, I was holding my breath without realizing it for like 30 seconds until the lights had completely gone. And there was like a noise just came, and I was shaking. And I just remember that for me was an incredible production. Anything Sally Cookson does, because I think she's a goddess of directing, and I would kill to work with her. And the production of Noises Off the Theatre by the Lake a good couple of years back, because I've never laughed so hard that my sides have almost been, I've got a stitch from laughing and tears rolling down my head. So that was a tip-top version of that show.
Amazing. Obviously, yesterday was World Theatre Day.
Yay!
What would you describe as theatre meaning to you both?
Like everything. Like I just couldn't exist without it. And the thought of, it just means everything to me. It really does. It's just as simple as that. Like,
yeah, I can't put it better than Meg, but I don't know, it's that connectivity, that shared magic in a rehearsal room with people. Everyone's there because they love doing what they do, and we're all lucky enough to get to do it, and then getting to share that on a night with an audience, and they hopefully loving what you do, and just that shared experience in the moment, which can never be repeated, is magical, and I miss it, and I can't wait till we can do it in person again.
Certainly. Another tough question for you both. You can have 3 playwrights round for dinner, alive or dead. Who are you having? And
Oh Lord. Okay. There's a dead silence now over me and Meg think of this.
Fine.
Okay, shall I go first?
Yeah.
Okay, it would be Jessica Swale, because I love all of her kind of classical revamped works. I think that she's a stunning writer. It would be Aaron Sorkin. I'm counting him because he's only technically written like a very small amount of plays, but as a writer, he is my favorite writer, full stop. The West Wing is my favorite TV show, so I want to pick that man's brain for how he constructs dialogue. Is just the most amazing thing. And my third would be, I don't know. Let me think. No, I don't know who my third would be yet. No, it would be Jasmine Lee Jones, because I want to say well done for 7 Methods of Killing Kylie Jenner. Can I pick your brain? What are you doing next? Because I want to jump on the train very, very early.
I would Jasmine. So she's on a, yeah, so yeah. Also Chekhov, because I think that would be absolutely fascinating. Obviously the dudes. And then my third would be Annie Baker.
Oh, Annie Baker!
I think having Annie Baker room together would be amazing, because they're so similar but so different. Yeah.
Good shout. Good three.
Yes, that's good. I'm glad nobody went The Office, because mine obviously would be Shakespeare. So that's mine's a boring answer. It's always that kind of boring answer, isn't it, that everyone goes for.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's fascinating, and if there was, and you know, but Aaron Sorkin wrote The West Wing, so sorry, Shakespeare.
And kind of sort of how do you get your guests, and obviously on the podcast, the ones you've previously had, and obviously the ones you've already mentioned that are coming up, how do you kind of get them on?
I mean, it's just messaging them, honestly. We think about what plays we're doing, and once we've kind of got the list, we think, okay, is there any other playwrights who we think might be interested in coming on, who we feel brave enough we could approach, or is there someone else we think might be connected with the piece who might have a great insight on it, or someone who really loves the show. So, and then it's just a case of being brave and dropping them a message on Twitter. But if anyone was interested in coming on a guest, then please do let us know. Drop us an email, scriptandhandpodcast@gmail.com. We're happy to hear from lots of folks. And I do have to give a shout out to Theo Fraser-Steele, who was our first guest, because he was so generous with his time and talking about Skylight back in season 1. And he obviously was in the original West End cast with Bill Nighy. And he, really made us feel a little bit braver about approaching everybody else. And it's just kind of gone from there, I'd say.
Amazing. And why should audiences listen to your podcast? Because obviously there's a billion podcasts out there now.
Yeah.
I think you should listen because it will educate you. Yeah, I think you can become very submerged in the work that you create and the artists that you love, that sometimes you forget there's loads of other people out there. There's more people that we've covered that I didn't hear of before than that I had. So I think it's really important that you listen to a range of different stories from a range of different people, and that you give them the space and the time, and you just listen. Well, and listen to the podcast, but mainly like out the,
and also for our witty banter.
Cool.
True.
Our witty banter.
And kind of the final question would be, where can people find the podcast?
You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You'd have to search Script in Hand. There's a lovely new logo of me and Meg holding scripts by our amazing illustrator Eleanor Hibbert. And then we are on all the socials. We are on at Script in Hand Pod on Instagram, on the Twitter, on the Facebook. We like to post pictures of the scripts, little snippets of pages, which we think are really cool, behind the scenes info. We've recently started doing fun facts in season 3, so stay tuned for those because they are fun. But anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us. Search a Script in Hand pod. Script in Hand.
Amazing. So it leaves me to thank you both, Lexie and Meg, for joining me. And
thank you so much. Thank you for having us, Mark. It's been amazing. And hello to all the Beyond the Curtain listeners and viewers, because I follow you guys for all my content as well. So make sure you follow you.
No, thank you. No, thank you very much for joining. Yeah.